Do you want to change the world? Start by making your bed. It sounds almost too simple for such a complicated world, doesn't it? But the truth is, if you can't bring order to your own room, you'll struggle to govern any other territory, whether it's a business, a marriage, or your own soul. An unmade bed is a symbol of chaos, delay, and a distracted mind. But a bed neatly made early in the morning, before any victory or failure of the day, is a silent reminder that you started out winning. In the book that inspired this reflection, Admiral William H. McRaven isn't just talking about tight sheets. He's talking about posture, respect, and self-command. He's reminding the world of what many refuse to hear. The basics are still sacred. Today, society idolizes the extraordinary, but God still works in the hidden places. The Bible says in Luke 16:10, "Whoever is faithful with little will also be faithful with much." And that little, my friend, begins at home. It's not with a promise of 1,000,000 followers that you honor life. It's with how you start your morning, by refusing to delay what discipline demands now. Making your bed is not just a chore, it's a prophetic act. It says, there is order here, and where there is order, there is power. Your first victory of the day isn't signing a $1,000,000 deal or making a grand decision. It's being faithful to the unseen, to the small things. Because a made bed won't change the world, but it will change your inner state, and that inner state is everything. True transformation doesn't start on the stage. It starts in the room, in the quiet, in the faithfulness to what seems insignificant. That's where God works. That's where He trains leaders and crowns kings. It's in the made bed that God places His seal, approving you for greater things. Some mornings will find you broken inside. The alarm will ring like it's mocking your pain. And you'll ask yourself, why get up? Why try again? It's exactly on those days that you must be most faithful to the mission. Getting up when all is well is easy. Doing it when the world seems to have no place for you, that's when a warrior is defined. You don't rise because you feel like it. You rise because you have a purpose. In military training, McRaven talks about endless drills, freezing water, punishing marches. But the lesson that marks the soul is not the physical hardship. It's the attitude of moving forward when the body can't anymore. Even soaked, cold, in pain, and afraid, they kept going. And you can only learn that on the ground, in practice, through struggle. Pain reveals what's hidden inside you. There's an old saying, be tolerant with others and strict with yourself, because in life's battlefield, no one will carry you every day. Not even God will do for you what only you can do. That's not cruelty. That's honor, the divine trust that you were made in His image, and therefore you already have everything you need to endure. Today's generation has learned to run from discomfort. Everything must be fast, easy, and painless. But pain shapes, pain refines, pain cleans. This only happens when you face pain as a tool, not as punishment. When you tell yourself, this will strengthen me, not destroy me. God never promised it would be easy, but He promised He'd be with you. The Bible doesn't hide the suffering of its heroes. Moses dealt with loneliness. Joseph was sold by his brothers. David had to run from the man he admired most, yet they all persisted, not looking for motivation, but transformation. And they knew transformation would come through fire, because gold is proven in heat and character in adversity. You can't control what happens around you, but you can control your first action of the day. And that small action has immense power. It says, I'm still here. It declares, I choose not to give up. It affirms, even without strength, I will keep going. The world will try to convince you that you need rest before you start again. But sometimes rest comes after action, after movement, after obedience. It's like Peter walking on water. The miracle only happened when he stepped out of the boat. Faith always demands the first step. In training, many quit, but others, even exhausted, smiled. Why? Because they found meaning in the pain. They knew they were becoming stronger, and they knew shared suffering united souls. That's another powerful truth. You are not alone. While you fight to survive, someone next to you is also fighting. Sometimes a word, a look, A "let's go together" is enough to keep someone standing. Strength isn't just about enduring alone. Sometimes it's being the shoulder when someone else is falling. And that strength begins where? In the faithfulness to your own path, in the quiet of your routine, in the bed you make through tears, in the body you lift out of discouragement, in the day you live without knowing how the night will end. You don't need everything figured out, but you do need to move. The Red Sea only parted after Moses lifted his staff. Jericho's walls only fell after the seventh lap. The widow's oil only multiplied after obeying the prophet's command. Nothing changes without action. Nothing transforms without faith. And faith, sometimes, is simply putting your feet on the floor and making the bed.
When everything feels out of place, that small gesture becomes an act of war, a silent shout, "I'm still fighting." You may not control the economy, politics, or the future, but you can control your attitude, and that's all God needs to start something new. If you do just one right thing today, let it be this. Choose the action that honors life. Choose the movement that reaffirms your covenant with hope, even if it seems small, even if no one sees. Choose to keep going, because the one who doesn't quit in the details won't be stopped by difficulties. One of the book's most powerful moments describes soldiers, after days of exhaustion, being forced into freezing mud until they were completely covered. Faces became unrecognizable, all equally filthy, shivering, drained. And there, in that extreme state, the deepest bonds were formed. When one began to sing, others joined, and in that broken, off-key chorus, something extraordinary happened. Hope returned, not because the mud was gone, but because the soul endured. You don't have to wait to get out of the mud to rise within. Sometimes all you have left is your voice, and even trembling, it's still yours. Even weak, you can use it to sing, to pray, to declare, "I am not what I'm going through, I am what I choose to carry inside me." It's easy to talk about faith when everything is fine, but when life throws you into the mud, what do you do with your faith? Do you abandon it, or turn that mud into fertile ground? The mud is not the end, it's part of the process. David was anointed king while still a shepherd, but before the throne came caves, betrayals, and exile. Only those who understand the mud can rule with compassion. The book reminds us, even in chaos, hope is a choice. And choosing hope is an act of spiritual rebellion. It's saying, I still believe, even dirty, even in pain, even in the mud. Romans 12:12 says, "Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer." That's the tripod of a strong soul. And you learn it when the ground refuses to hold you, when the only option is to look up. Maybe you are the voice that starts the song. Maybe your small spark rekindles someone else's flame. It's not about having the solution, it's about being present. Many are waiting for someone to save the day. But what if it's you? What if your attitude is what's missing to bring someone back to life? Seneca wrote, "While we live, we must learn to live." And living means being useful even in dark days. Being firm when the ground is mud. Giving even when your soul is silent. Never underestimate the power of a small action. A cup of coffee made with care, a message sent, a hug given at the right time. These are anchors, bridges, voices that say, you still belong. There is still love here. And it all begins with how you treat yourself. You make your bed because you love yourself enough not to live in neglect, because you know your identity doesn't depend on the moment. And because you understand that the first step to changing the world is to honor your inner world. Are you tired? Keep going. Are you discouraged? Breathe. Do you see no way out? Pray, but don't surrender. The soul that surrenders to the mud forgets it was made from dust, and that it was God who breathed life into that dust. Even mud has a sacred destiny when God's will is revealed. You don't need to be great in the eyes of people. You need to be true in the eyes of God. And that begins when you resist the urge to quit, when you sing through the rain, when you make the bed while grieving, when you help someone even while needing help. Greatness isn't in what you gain. It's in what you sustain, what you share, what you inspire, and, above all, what you choose to keep in order even when everything else is chaos. So today, if everything feels too heavy, sing. And if the voice won't come, make your bed. Because even if you're in the mud, your spirit can stay clean. Even if the world is a mess, your room can be a refuge. Even if your soul bleeds, faith can keep beating. You weren't made to quit. You were made to endure. And the first sign of endurance isn't a battle cry. It's a small act, done with firmness, done with faith, done with love. Life will not be fair. You can do everything right and still be rejected. You can love deeply and still be betrayed. You can give your best and still go unnoticed. And this is where many quit, because they confuse justice with immediate reward.
But real life and mature faith don't work like that. It's not about getting what you deserve. It's about moving forward when you don't. It's about choosing what's right even when wrong seems easier. It's about persisting in discipline even when no one is clapping. You want to change your life? Then accept there will be days when everything feels unfair, and still you will rise. Make your bed, fulfill your duties, not because life smiled at you, but because you decided to be someone God can trust. Don't complain. In training, the ones who complained were the first to break. Complaining drains the soul. It whispers, "I am a victim, and I can do nothing about it." But you are no victim. You are a warrior. You may be wounded, but you still have a voice. You still have choices. You still have dignity. Complaining is easy. Transforming is heroic. And transformation begins with language, in how you speak about what you're going through, in how you interpret pain, in how you present yourself to the world. Even when you're in pieces, you can wake up with heavy eyes and still say, "Today, I'll do what must be done." That's not denying pain. It's refusing to be its slave. It's what Paul wrote in Philippians, "I have learned to be content in every situation." There's a silent beauty in those who keep going without applause, in those who work in secret with excellence, in those who make discipline their altar and service their offering. Fear will come. In the book, there's a part about divers who had to descend into dark waters, not knowing what was beneath. The unknown is terrifying, but if you wait for all guarantees before acting, you'll never move. Faith is not the absence of fear. It's the decision made in the middle of it. You step into the water because the mission is greater than the fear, because you know you're not alone, even if it feels that way. Don't wait for fear to go away. It won't, but you will get stronger, steadier, quieter, more focused. And you'll realize courage doesn't come from puffed chests, but from a mind already decided before emotions scream. Epictetus said, "Circumstances don't make the man, they only reveal him." And what the dark waters reveal about you will depend on your decision today, your willingness to face whatever comes, to keep moving despite setbacks, to hold your tongue when everything goes wrong, to dive even with fear. Life won't always be fair, but God will. And He doesn't reward those who shine occasionally. He honors those who are faithful when no one is looking, those who don't sell out, those who turn the simple into a declaration of greatness. You can be that person. You don't have to be the most talented or the strongest. You have to be constant, disciplined, and whole. Today, when fear comes, answer with action. When injustice shouts, answer with honor. When the temptation to complain arises, answer with silence. And when everyone stops, keep going. Make the bed, face the mud, respect the fear, keep moving. Because it's not about deserving, it's about enduring. And with time, turning it all into light. You will fail, and that's a truth you must accept. You will fall, you will make mistakes, you will invest in people who don't deserve it, you will give your best and still come up short. And yet, you must continue. Who you are is not defined by what knocks you down, but by what you do next. Life doesn't measure your strength by your number of successes, but by the quality of your persistence. Getting out of bed after a terrible night is an act of resistance. Facing the mirror when you're ashamed is an act of courage. Folding the sheet with tears in your eyes is pure faith, a declaration. I'm not finished. I'm still here. You don't have to win every time, but you must rise every time. Try again, give again, because sometimes the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is one last effort when everything seems lost. The discipline to start again is what shapes true kings. You may not control the world, but you can control your gesture. And that small gesture of not quitting carries eternal weight. God is not impressed by perfect performance. He delights in sincere constancy. David failed, Peter failed, Paul failed, but none of them stayed down. They rose, they returned, they started again. So can you, today, now, even after failure, even in shame, even doubted. Make your bed, and with it, make your spirit ready. Another lesson from the book: never judge anyone by appearance. In training, some of the most quiet, unimpressive soldiers became the strongest. The loudest or biggest sometimes quit first. The humble were often the ones who endured to the end. You don't know the battles someone is fighting behind their smile. That's why you must respect both their pain and your own strength. The Bible reminds us, man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. 1 Samuel 16:7. Greatness doesn't live in what dazzles, it lives in what sustains. And what sustains doesn't reveal itself at once. It shows up day after day in consistent gestures, in steady effort, in the quiet of good choices. The book's final message is clear. Change the world, yes, but start with yourself. The world needs leaders with clean souls, voices that inspire without shouting, hands that build instead of just display. And it begins in the most unlikely place: your room, your bed, your routine, your soul.